And a good spiritual morning to you once again. I'm Father Cosmas. Thank you for joining me today from my office here at church for a quick chat and, of course, our morning cup of coffee. And so Christ is risen, Christos Anesti, as we continue our Paschal celebration. I thought for today we talk a little bit about something that's kind of in the news. And I think we all saw perhaps the French Open story or news headline regarding Naomi Osaka, who had to withdraw from the tournament for mental health reasons or issues, and also in light of the fact that this Oprah Winfrey special came out, The Me You Can't See. I think that came out on Apple TV recently. I haven't seen that. I'm not looking to discuss that show, but just the idea that right now there's a lot of talk regarding mental health. And because it's such a huge topic, I thought we would take a minute or two today just to discuss it. What does the church feel about that? What does the church teach about counseling, therapy, mental health issues, and how we deal with those? So first and foremost, there are a lot of people suffering out there. By the millions, there are people suffering every day, whether it's with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, all sorts of difficulties and challenges that make it, difficult for them to function on a day-to-day basis. And we have to acknowledge that and to recognize that those are illnesses. Those are infirmities, and some of them might be purely emotional. Many of them might also have a physical dimension to them. People might have a chemical imbalance. They could benefit from seeing a psychiatrist or a medical doctor to receive medication to help them. In any respect, the reality is God has given certain people the gift of healing, and we think of them being medical doctors, but it's also a gift to be able to sit down and talk to someone and help them with issues or problems that they're facing. And we should all be able to use our gifts to be able to serve each other and to help each other. There's nothing wrong with that. And so what does the church think about counseling or therapy? People should try as best as they can to become well. No one should just be sitting in silence and suffering and sort of trying to hide the symptoms of their difficulties, whether they can't sleep or whether they're crying uncontrollably or having panic attacks, whatever it may be. We need to be able to get out there and get help. And so what does the church say? Well, that we should have some sort of a balance. Recognize that there are physical problems, there are emotional problems, and we want to deal with those. But we also have spiritual issues, and we want to address those and deal with those too. Why wouldn't we? Recognize that there's a part of us that God has created that we can't see, we don't really know how to treat or how to deal with, but that part of us that's living on, our soul, that also has to be dealt with. And so I think that we have a balance in that. When we go to a medical doctor, a practitioner to help us with our body, we can go to a psychiatrist, also a medical doctor, to a psychotherapist, to a therapist, to a counselor, whatever it may be, a clinical psychologist to help us. We also should be looking at trying to get help spiritually, to see our spiritual father, our father confessor, a parish priest, to sit down and talk with in sort of a therapeutic environment, right? It doesn't have to be confession. It can be confession, but just to touch base and make sure that we're healthy and that we're well spiritually, and that all of those things should be working together in harmony, that the priest is encouraging people. I think there's a writing by St. Paisios that talks about this idea of how the spiritual father works together with the psychiatrist to be able to help the person, that there shouldn't be this exclusion of saying, well, I only go and see the psychiatrist, I don't see my priest. Well, who's helping you spiritually, and are you in balance then? But also the priest should also be knowing when it's time to refer someone and say, hey, you might benefit from seeing a licensed counselor or a psychiatrist maybe helping you to make sure that you're okay and that medically speaking, chemically speaking, you're doing well, and to get all the help that you need. The main thing is we want people to be well, we want people to be healthy, we don't want people to be suffering. And if I can say anything to get a point across through this little short video, it would be if you're watching this and you're struggling with something, struggling with a difficulty, struggling with anxiety, struggling with depression, struggling with anything that you're dealing with emotionally, please don't sit in silence. Get help. We have to remove this stigma that it's not okay to say that we're struggling with something emotionally, and we should be able to reach out for help. And that's something that's so important. Turn to a friend, turn to someone to get, some guidance and some help, turn to family members, but ultimately, make sure that you're turning to a doctor, turning to a medical professional, turning to a licensed counselor. Of course, turning to your parish priest or to your father confessor, your spiritual father, to make sure that all of these things are in balance and that everything is functioning well, to make sure that we can be happy and we can be healthy. Once again, may our risen Lord and Savior bless us and keep us this day and every day. Christ is risen.